welcome back to another episode of the Blazer Victory Podcast. John Duncan here, and of course, I'm joined as always with my co-hosts Darian Smith and Jimmy Marion. And this episode, just like all of our game recap episodes, are sponsored by Cahaba Brewing. Thank you so much to Cahaba for sponsoring all of our game recaps. Right now, my favorite core beer of theirs for this week, especially on the beach, was their Pale Ale. Their classic Pale Ale, only 4.18% ABV. It's a super chill beer, and especially a good slow sipper for the beach, and it still packs a bunch of flavors. So go ahead and check out Cahaba Brewing's tap room, or if you want to, you can go to your favorite local superstore, and they should have a Cahaba beer on the shelf. But definitely check out their website, cahababrewing.com. But guys, UAB falls Battle for the Bones, 45-21, and falls to 1-3 in the American Athletic Conference and 2-6 overall. And I was able to catch some of it riding up from the beach. Jimmy, Darian, I don't know where we want to start here. No, what we'll start is no Jacob Zeno. So Jacob Zeno did not play in this game. They said on the broadcast that he was actually cleared this morning, cleared concussion protocol, but Trent Dilfer decided, to still kind of go easy. And I think he played the smart, by not playing him today, because you really don't want to rush him back. And then you've got the bye week coming now after this game. But guys, kind of learning about Jacob Zeno not being there, did that kind of change our mindset heading into this game? Like the late breaking news that he's not going to play?
Yes, just for the short answer, yes, it did. Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, we did the preview, and we obviously did not talk or make our predictions based on Zeno not playing. So it certainly would have changed some of that discussion, right, amongst the three of us, and certainly probably even more so the predictions that we had thrown out. And it absolutely changed the game plan. As we start to dive into the game, you look at the emphasis of having more high volume runs compared to passing attempts. You look at the statistics, whether it be completions or attempts or passing percentage, all of which were down per our season average. So, not only would it have changed the discussion going into the game, it certainly changed the game plan as well, at least in the first half.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you look at, they played three quarterbacks today. Harrison Barker got the start. Trace Campbell got in, the former tight end from Ole Miss, and of course Landry Liddy. But guys, 3 interceptions. I mean, that's not going to cut it, and that ultimately led to 14 points for Memphis. So
Memphis had it was 21-0 points off turnovers. I don't know if the other one was off a fumble, but Memphis was 21-0 on points off turnovers.
Yeah, it was 3 interceptions and a fumble by Barker. So all the turnovers were quarterback related.
That just hurts
tough.
even more.
And then one of them being a pick six, and the other being basically a pick six.
Should have been.
They returned it. They returned it inside of the 10. So I mean, you basically giving them points. I know a lot of people was looking back and saying stuff about our defense, but you really can't put this game on the defense. Honestly, was the defense good? No, I would say they were average. I'd say they were about average. I don't like the fact that we cannot generate any kind of pressure. But Memphis has a solid O-line, so hey, we got to find a way to get pressure. But as those turnovers, man, they doom you. So I don't know what we expect. Now I don't like some of the play calls. Like one of the turnovers, we did like this screen type of fake one way, try to come back the other way.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Yes, it was on the second, and it pushed us back all the way into like 3rd and 20. And I thought we were just gonna hand it off and punt it, and then it was a pick. I was like, yeah, that wasn't smart. We weren't gonna get a 3rd and 20, not with the backup quarterback in. I don't know why we tried to be ultra aggressive right there.
Well, speaking of being ultra aggressive, let's talk about right before halftime. not kicking the field goal. I was saying it in the car watching. I said, you've only got what 20 was it 22 seconds or something like that, and it was 4th and 2. Just take your 3 points before they attempted the fourth down. And I get it that Jimmy sent us the post game video. Coach, or that Trent really thought that they had to be super aggressive this game in particular. But man, take the 3 points and yeah, kudos, to Trent. I think he realized right away that was a terrible decision. Of course, when they didn't get it, but kind of looking back, that was the momentum shift that Memphis, went to halftime, came out of the locker room, and really never looked back in the game.
Yeah. I know what Trent said in post game. I listened to it. I just disagree with him. I think you have to go by the game, and I think that's something our staff is struggling with, and hopefully they're able to review over the bye week. We really, really need this bye week. We're a really injured team. We didn't have our starting quarterback. We're starting 2 freshmen, in which this is the positive is this is the best. We went against a decent defense, and our offensive line did good. I want people to know that, like, our offensive line did well. We started A-Train at right guard, and I felt like that made a hell of a lot of difference. And we have 2 freshmen starting on the O-line. They both did well. But I think one thing our staff needs to improve on, is the adjustments mid game. I think it seems as if we have a game plan in the beginning and we stick with that game plan no matter what. And I don't agree with that. I think you have a plan. To me, a plan is a guide. And at that point, it's like, hey man, we threw the pick six. It's a blessing that we have this. We got this opportunity to go up at half. Let's take the points. It'll only be like 19 seconds left. We should be able to hold, and then we come back out, and the defense held them to a field goal when we came out. I don't know if we just had a 3 and out right after that, or I don't know if it was a interception. I have to go and look, but yeah, I do think there was a momentum shift. Of course, the pick six was big. It was a lot of momentum shifts. Basically, us getting off the field on third downs. They had it seemed like a lot of long drives, and we got them into third downs plenty of times on those drives, and we just cannot get off the field, and that is a big problem for us. I don't know what the statistics is. I'm pretty sure we are one of the bottom 5 teams in getting off the field on third downs. And then on our side of the ball, when it's like 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5, I get anxiety because I'm like, are we going to get this? Because it seems like we don't really do a good job converting, and it put us in these weird 4th and 2s, 4th and 1s, 4th and 5s, and it's like at the, we're going in from 30-yard line. What do? You go for it, we don't get it, and next thing you know, all of a sudden, all the momentum is out of our sails. So, Jimmy, what did you see there?
Well, speaking of the statistics, Darren, you nailed it. UAB was 3 of 12 on third down. Memphis 9 of 16. When you look at the season, UAB is converting at 38% roughly on third downs. Opponents are converting at 46% thereabouts. And so you're certainly right. Going back to your defensive point earlier, the fact that the defense forced Memphis into 16 third down attempts, is good. But when they were in those situations, to your point, they were not able to stop Memphis from converting. I can think back to one point in particular where I believe it was going into the second quarter, UAB had forced Memphis into a 3rd and 14. I believe it was. It was either 3rd and 14 or 3rd and 15, and Memphis picked up 13 or 14 yards. They were 1 yard short. And
Bro, I think it was 3rd and 19 to make it worse. I think it was 3rd and 19.
It was a super long third down, a situation in which UAB could have forced Memphis into at least a field goal. Memphis didn't get all the yardage on third down, but then they converted on the 4th, and then ultimately scored 2 plays later. And that kind of brings us to the red zone statistics. Memphis this game was 6 of 6 in the red zone. They scored 5 touchdowns. The one time they did not score a touchdown, they scored a field goal. And UAB, conversely, was 1 of 3 in the red zone for 1 touchdown. We know the 2 failed 4th down conversions. So the second half, UAB, those statistics were not held by UAB failing to reach the red zone offensively once in the second half. So, I mean, this game, we've touched on it, the turnovers. You can't win when you turn it over 4 times, much less if you want to count the other failed fourth down conversions, which would be a total of 6 turnovers. It impacted us here, there, and everywhere. 67 total plays was a season low for UAB. So yeah, lots of bad. But what I will say is that first half, Dilfer talked about it in the post game. The philosophy going into the game, maybe it's something that we can talk a little bit more on the Patreon about. Dilfer's belief that there was only one way to win that football game, but you can't argue the success of that game plan in the first half. When you look at UAB, they had 9 more first downs than Memphis. They outgained Memphis 332 yards to 157. They outgained them in the air, on the ground. Time of possession they controlled. UAB had 0 penalties in the first half. They did have the 1 turnover. So it's hard to argue that game plan like in the first half, offensively speaking. And again, I think it might be more of a broader conversation for us to have on our Patreon show later. But in the second half, Dilfer had touched on how offensively, and you guys heard the commentary too, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like offensively we went away from that strategy in the second half, and with our quarterback rotation, we started trying to play more how we have throughout the year, and that's what ultimately led to those additional turnovers, which then let the game get away.
Yeah, as I was coming in, because I didn't get there until the second half, and Jimmy was heading out, and it was almost like a premonition. We was talking, and Jimmy said to me, because Jimmy had to go get baby hydrogen, #baby hydrogen.
Hampton made it to the game, Jimmy?
No, I had to go home to get Hampton.
Oh.
Hampton had a long night. He's for those of you that don't know, Hampton's only 2 weeks old, and so he didn't get to sleep, and Mama didn't get to sleep till after 3 o'clock last night, and so Jimmy got to go the first half, and then Jimmy had to come home to take care of some business.
So Darian was coming in, and Jimmy was the first guy that, one of the first guys I seen coming out, and we talked for a while, and he said that, man, I just hope that he didn't know if that was sustainable. It was kind of gimmicky, like you caught him off guard for the first half, switching in all these quarterbacks. But I do wish we would have went in with the lead, because it's not about I think as a coach, you have to think about the overall morale of the team, and it's much more different going up with the lead, knowing your backup quarterback is out. You guys still were able to get the lead versus feeling out, let down, like, dang, we just had that drive. We got close twice. We got close to the end zone because we didn't convert on like a 4th and 2 as well, something like that. 4th and 5, I believe, in the first half. So you come in, you go to the end zone twice, and you don't get any points. That's 6 points. And then another decision I didn't agree with was when we got the first 2-point conversion. All right, we're up 1. Let's just kick the field goal down. Like, so even when Memphis scored, it was still 8-7 UAB. So potentially that's 7 points. I feel like we left. That's a whole touchdown. I feel like we left on the field by being quote unquote hyper aggressive. That messes with your team morale. Your team's like, dang, we went down there, we got these yards. Well, what does that matter when we're not converting? So now on the back end, when the team score in the second half or whatever, we're playing more desperate, we're playing more catch up. I think that allows you to run the ball more in the second half, to kind of be more conservative and not have to put the ball in the air unless we throw and go routes. That's another thing. We did miss like 2 or 3 potential touchdowns. We just missed them. So, and one of them was like, it was a clear PI on Memphis defender, but that ball wasn't catchable to Bookhalter. So, I mean, it is what it is. My other concern is like on defense. We don't seem to be we seem reactive. We're not, we don't cause plays. We don't make plays, It's just, we react, we catch. There's nobody coming off the ball forcing any mistakes. Seth Hennigan he ate breakfast. How many times have we said that this year? Like the opposing team is eating breakfast. They're sending emails in the pocket. There's no force. There's nothing to fear. There's minimum tackle for losses. I don't know what the answer to that is, but we don't generate any pressure. The opposing team isn't scared on a 3rd and 4 or whatever. You should be able to pick that up against UAB right now, because who's gonna make a play? Who's gonna make a play? Nobody. And I don't know. One thing that is kind of confusing to me as well is, like, we're so used to making plays, at least 3 to 4 impact plays a game. And I have rarely seen that this year. And I don't know if that's scheme related, but for 2 to 3 years, we've seen Fish make those plays. And I would like to see us. I just don't know what our scheme. I don't know what we're telling the guys up front and how they should play. But it doesn't seem very forceful. And I would like to see at least. So it's one of two things: our scheme isn't helping generate that pressure, or we just don't have the guys. We just don't have the guys. So I'm glad we're going into this bye week. We get to recover. We're going to get a lot of guys back. I also think it's an advantage because a lot of teams already had their bye week. We really need it, and this is the part of the schedule that I'm going to really be critically looking at, because a lot of these teams we're either even with. I feel like we're about even with FAU, or maybe slightly favored. So this is the point of the season that I'm really going to be judging. If you look at this point of the season, I don't know what people expected our record to be, especially with the injuries we've had. I don't know. I always go back to the beginning of the year when we had everybody available and we were talking about expectations. This was always going to be like, I think we were hoping for 3 wins, maybe 3 wins. I think we was hoping to either take down UTSA or, maybe Louisiana or I don't know, but this is the time that we need to step up and win games. We got the opportunity to win games. I think we should at least take 3 of them. So we'll see.
Hey, Darren, I like what you were talking about. Actually, I don't like what you were talking about, but the reality is true, is the lack of the defensive line or just the defense altogether generate pressure. And something that we were really dependent upon earlier in the year was, remember we were talking about UAB being one of the top schools, programs in FBS and forced fumbles. We were relying on some of those turnovers. In the past 2 weeks, we haven't got it. UTSA turned the ball over once, and Memphis protected the ball, 0 turnovers. And so, when you're not turning the opponent over, and conversely, like today, when you're turning it over the way that we are, it's just a recipe for disaster. Even if everything else was going really well, it's just a recipe for disaster. As it relates to the last, whatever we have, 4 games, the rest of the season, it's tough right now to talk about it. I think that's going to be a good bye week discussion, but I like that you said that that's going to be kind of when you're the most critical, because I completely agree. Like we've talked all season about how challenging and front loaded the schedule was, and the reality is it's true. Look at the opponents that we've lost to. Look how they're performing this season, and even teams that didn't have a great start to the season or not as great as they could have been. Teams like UTSA, Memphis, and Tulane are going to be awesome the rest of the way, in my opinion. So it doesn't make the losses any better, but we are reaching that point in the season where the last 4, you've got to make a statement. You've got to show the growth, but also show the results to carry some type of momentum and some type of confidence into the offseason and into year 2 under Dilfer and the staff.
Again, UAB falls 45-21. The Battle for the Bones rivalry against Memphis. UAB will enter a bye week this week and will welcome FAU into town for homecoming November the 4th. The time for that game will be set Monday morning, so pay attention. Also, guys, since it's the bye week, we will not have anything else on the free show. thinking about Joe Webb and that shoe against Memphis. But yeah, there will not be another free show until we have our FAU preview the following week. However, Patreon supporters, we will be doing a bi-week Q&A show again for this fall. So expect a link on the Patreon probably Sunday afternoon-ish, probably around that time. But you should get an email alert for Patreon subscribers. But ask us some questions or two. We're gonna give it a few days. We'll give it through Sunday through Tuesday to get for you guys to ask your questions. But make sure that you comment on the Patreon post to get your question answered. But I'll get with Jimmy and Darian. We'll probably do that either probably Wednesday night or Thursday, just to give you guys some time to get those questions posted. But if you're not subscribed to the Patreon, go to patreon.com/BlazerPod and join. Again, just $5 a month. It gets you access to all exclusive episodes. We are nearing 40 exclusive episodes, so check that out. But we'll be back in the free feed if you are not on Patreon to get you guys ready after the bye week for FAU. But Jimmy, Darian, you guys got anything else for the listeners before we wrap it up?
Keep your head up. Times like this
Yeah.
are tough, but let's keep coming together, and don't lose your minds on each other. Let's stop that fighting on social media. Let's have a good bye week.
Yeah, man, just chill out. Like let the schedule play out. We all knew that this was going to be a challenging first half of the year. Just chill, man. Like everything, yeah. I see too much. It just go a little too far. We played nothing but good teams. After NCAT, it's nothing but we haven't had a bad team yet, and we haven't been at that level. We had the good game against USF, and we showed some fight in some games. And I really feel like second half of games is where we need to learn at. And now we go into the bye week. We've had a ton of injuries, and we talked about it in the beginning that this team doesn't have depth, doesn't have the necessary depth. Well, the thing that we talked about was like we needed guys to stay healthy. We have not been healthy. We've had tons of season-ending injuries. We started having those before the season even started. I mean, Skull was hurt. He had to work himself back. He wasn't even healthy until like game 3 or 4, basically. And we lost our starting right guard. We lost starting linebackers when we already didn't have linebackers. Like we've lost guys all over. Just chill out, man, and let the year play out, and then review it, and then hopefully we can go into next year with some momentum, especially in recruiting. We get guys back. We get to have some transfers. The staff get a year under us. Everybody just chill. Let's just have some patience.
Definitely well said. And another reminder too, on our Patreon Ask Q&A, everything is on the table. So football, basketball, whatever, recruiting, ask us, and we'll try to answer it. We did this back in the summer, and we had to do 2 separate episodes because you guys asked so many great questions. So patreon.com. So again, drink Cahaba beer, relax, and basketball and Andy Kennedy's right around the corner. Go Blazers.